In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, welcome to another session of Finding God. We are on chapter 66. Pardon my noise level. It's a bit noisy outside. We are on chapter 66, Surah Al Ahqaf, which means the sand dunes, where we will talk about general topics which we have covered in previous chapters, but also a bit about Prophet Hud, the brother of Ad, as they say, and the sand dunes. And there are a couple of interesting facts here. For example, maybe I can cover the facts before I dive into the chapter. So, for example, the sand dunes or the sand tracks is the word that's used in verse 21. And according to 15th century commentary Tafsir al-Jalalain, the Valley of Ahqaf was the name of the valley located today in Yemen where Hud and his people lived. So that's one detail. But the other one is a detail about fetal viability. And verse 15 of the chapter talks about the period of gestation and breastfeeding, saying that his mother bears him with hardship and she brings him forth with hardship, and the bearing of him and the weaning of him is 30 months. And there are other verses in the Quran which cover this subject matter. For example, chapter 2, verse 233, about mothers nursing the children for 2 full years. And Islamic jurists have spent a lot of time in understanding this and declaring, based on the interpretations of the Quran, fetal viability. This is not the abortion argument, whether the fetus is viable inside the womb. This is outside the womb. So, in the early 2000s, Saudi Arabia's Permanent Committee for Scholarly Research in Iftar issued a legal opinion, or a fatwa, as they say, about how long premature newborns can be allowed gestation and protected, or when are the chances, when are not the chances, and they were arguing for it. And 6 months and 2 days, or the period between this verse and that verse, help them decide, oh, this is the amount of time. So if a fetus is in poor condition and under a certain age, then we're going to do less to protect him or her, as opposed to when they're older than this age. So this was quite important. Using Quranic teaching to interpret the message of God, and then using that message to establish your legal positioning. So I think that's why this chapter has this important detail. Otherwise, it's not a very long chapter. It's 30 or 35 verses, and it comes around the late Meccan period. So look, we are chapter 66. We are only 20 away, according to the Egyptian chronology, and the chronology I use from Tanzil.net. We're only 20 away from Prophet Muhammad moving to Mecca. And it's mid-September. I would say if each chapter is 20 weeks, could I be done? No, I could be, yeah. I think I could be done by the Meccan period, by the end of this year. So that's the actual goal. So let's get started with the chapter, and then if anything is of particular interest, I will stop at it. In the name of Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful. Hamim. Seventh of the 7 chapters which contain this. Now, the seventh of the 7 could mean in terms of arrangement, not in terms of chronology. Nonetheless, this is one of the 7 chapters that contain this starting word, Hamim. The revelation of the book is from God, the Almighty, the All-Wise. We created not the we created not the heavens and the earth and all that is between them, except with truth and for an appointed term, but those who disbelieve turn away from that whereof they were warned. Say, O Muhammad, to these pagans, think you about all that you invoke besides God. I'll say it in modern parlance. Think about all that you invoke besides God. Show me, what have they created of the earth, or have they a share in the creation of the heavens? Bring me a book revealed before this one, or some trace of knowledge in support of your claims, if you are truthful. Now, this is playing the same game as they are playing. We don't see your God. How do we know? Well, show me anything that your God has done. Show me, prove it. A man who doesn't see but believes, who's connected to the Creator, arguing with another man, because it was probably men at that time, another man who believes in an inanimate object or the sun and fire and natural phenomena. That's the same level of argument. Honestly, that's the same. Now you are engaging with them on evidence-based argumentation. As I've said in weeks before, had this been a rational conversation, it wouldn't be antagonistic as far as I'm concerned, because we are in pursuit of truth, not to belittle the other person. And it becomes collaborative and cooperative, and you say, okay, you say, Muhammad, that all of this comes from a creator who's not inanimate and is not the sun or the flame. Substantiate your claim. And then Muhammad will say, well, he created the sun, and he created the flame, and he created the sand and the mud from which you create your idols. I'm talking about that source. It becomes a source-based argument rather than, oh, I created my idol, I can destroy my idol. And then, if it's a rational exploration, then eventually you'll reach the same conversation that I still reach with my atheist friends. Chance versus design. You say, who created the universe? I say, God. You say, who created God? I don't have an answer. You say the universe exists. I say, who created it? You don't have an answer. It's the same cycle. But that's a rational exploration where myself, and a respectful atheist, there are many, would agree to say, we cannot be certain of either position being wrong or right. And then I would say, yes, but the likelihood of my position of design from a source which is divine being more probabilistically correct is larger, because it's design versus chance. Then that's a rational exploration. That's what's happening here. It's claim, well, divide the moon in half, well, do this, well, and the prophet said, okay, where's your evidence? That's what's happening. And who is more astray than one who calls on, invokes besides God, such as will not answer him till the day of resurrection, and who are even unaware of the calls, invocations to them. So you're talking about somebody who's off the beaten path, off the path, and you're calling them astray, whose calls are not heard, and they don't hear invocations to them. Okay, and they're not even aware of them. All right, interesting. And when mankind are gathered on the day of resurrection, the false deities will become their enemies and will deny their worship. Interesting. Now, a critic might say, oh, does that mean that the false deities will come to life because they're denying their worship? It's possible. Or it is implied contextually, where an inanimate object is lying in front of you and the meta-animate, post-animate, divine Lord of all that exists, the heaven and the earth, is in front of you. By definition, there is a denial of worship. However, It is said on the day of judgment, your hands will speak, your tongue will speak, your inanimate objects, certainly, sentient but not animate, or not conscious objects will be speaking. So it's possible. It's possible that on the day of judgment they say, no, 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 we have become their enemies and will deny the worship. And when our clear verses are recited to them, the disbelievers say of the truth, this Quran, when it reaches them, this is plain magic. Sure, I think that's still the case even today. We hear something and we say, that's magic, that's not real, that's a lie. I think it's human nature to deny rather than to explore. Either deny, and part of denial is the egocentric, arrogant scrutiny. Really? You think there's a God? As opposed to, and the other is just pure denial. No, I don't see facts, here facts. No, it's pure denial. The actual rational exercise would be exploration. But just to entertain the idea temporarily, like, okay, what do you say? Or say he, Muhammad, peace be upon him, has fabricated it. Say, if I have fabricated it, still you have no power to support me against God. He knows best of what you say among yourselves concerning it, this Quran. Sufficient is he as a witness between me and you, and he is the oft forgiving, the most merciful. Okay, so they call it magic. Now the Prophet is asking them for evidence, which they don't have. And he's saying, okay, if it's fabricated, even if it is fabricated, the Lord is on my side. So I see a shift in the argumentation almost. It's almost become, you know what, I'm going to play with you at your level. Because clearly you're not valuing my level. Say, Muhammad, I'm not a new thing among the messengers of God. I'm not the first messenger, nor do I know what will be done with me or with you. I only follow that which is revealed to me, and I am but a plain warner. You know, this word, warner, has to be enshrined in every mosque, every madrasa, every school which teaches the Quran or Islam. Because a warner is very different from somebody who aims to convert and to force and to purposefully change somebody's life. A warner simply says, don't touch that flame. Your hands are going to burn. Okay. That's a warner. You warn once. You don't keep warning, because after a moment of time, either you physically stop them, which is not what a warner is supposed to do. If they're your child, you physically stop them, or you teach them a lesson. You say, okay, fine, touch the flame. Let's see what happens. Fine, jump in that water. Let's see what happens. Fine, jump off a cliff. Let's see if you break your back. That's a warning. Oh, I'm thinking of skydiving. Great. It has 4% chance of this, 5% chance of that, 10% chance of this. I'm just telling you. A warner, by definition, makes sure that you have all the information available to you while you make your decisions, before you make your decisions, after you make your decisions. That's a warner. So it's not your duty to go to people and say, become a Muslim because ABC. It's your duty to say, are you happy in life? No? Why do you think that is? And more often than not, you can trace it back to a lack of faith in something greater, a lack of belief in self or something greater, a lack of understanding of the cosmos and how things work, because you're too narrowly focused on what is rather than what was and will be. And you say to them, have you considered that these problems that you're having right now are not your entire life, and they're not everybody else's life, and they're not even part of, and they're a tiny part of existence. So if you want to gain perspective, try to see that all your problems, compared to the vast cosmic churning of the ocean, are minute. Supernovas are happening. Black holes are forming. Stars are burning. Planets are revolving. Seas and oceans, mountains are standing, clouds are raining, the sun is shining, the earth is revolving around it. There's so many gigantic things happening. Your issues, whatever they are tiny compared to this. Think about it. And this is not to belittle the person, this is to expand perspective. And then you say, I believe all of this is tied to a governing dynamic, it's tied to a dynamic structure, it's tied to forces that govern the universe, whether you say electromagnetism, strong and weak, whether you say divine, whether you say karma or Newton's third law. There are forces that govern the universe, and those forces invariably govern you. Right? You could see how this gentle sort of warning, if you continue down this path of smoking cigarettes 10 times a day, 20 times a day, eventually it's going to affect your lungs. If you keep drinking alcohol 20 times a day or once a day, whatever, you're going to damage your liver. If you keep eating sugary food, you're going to get diabetes. If you keep eating oily food, you're going to have high blood cholesterol and you might have a cardiac arrest. These are warnings. You go to the doctor, you pay the government or a private hospital / clinic to go to a doctor to receive those warnings. You go to a psychiatrist to receive warnings. You go to school to receive warnings about what the world is about, or what the professional world is about. Why not the same with regards to religion? Right? We don't go to shamans and great thinkers or philosophers anymore and say, what is the meaning of life? We don't do that because we're too busy scrolling. But the actual fact of the matter is the prophet is there to do just this. It would be an enlightened person who would seek the prophet out and say, oh, great prophet of God, I am lost in my life. Where am I going wrong? Please tell me what I'm doing wrong. And the prophet would warn him and say, look, don't drink, don't lie, don't steal, be respectful to your parents, be caring of your spouse and your children, provide, because that is your core responsibility, and be an upright person and be a rightful person, and so on and so forth. And they'd give them that guidance and warning. And that would be enough. If you don't, not only in our religion do we believe that you go to the hellfire, but you also end up ruining your life. Most people in Montreal, who I know, enjoy a good drink. They go nuts with their drinks. Okay, not the older ones, but the younger ones, especially the students at where I work. They can really go nuts with their drink. And the next morning is a horrific hangover. And I've asked so many of my friends when I was younger, is the hangover, is the drink worth it? After such a horrific hangover. And during the hangover, they're like, oh no, man, this is horrific. But when they're having the drink, they're like, yeah, this is the greatest moment of my life. But perspective temporally teaches you that is not the case. I have to finish this chapter. I don't know why I'm proselytizing all of a sudden. Say, tell me if this Quran is from God and you deny it, and a witness from among the children of Israel, Abdullah bin Salam, testifies that this Quran is from God, like the Torah, and he believed or embraced Islam, while you are too proud to believe. Verily, God guides on the people who are the Zalimun, again the word that we have seen before. And those who disbelieve, the strong and wealthy, this doesn't mean that strong and wealthy are only disbelievers. In this context, in Mecca, in 618 AD, 615 to 20 AD, the disbelievers were typically the rich members of the family and saying, no, we don't believe. Of those who believe, the weak and poor, had it, Islam, to which Muhammad is inviting mankind, been a good thing, they, the weak and poor, would not have preceded us there too. And when they have not let themselves be guided by this Quran, they say, this is an ancient lie. That is interesting. This is something we see even today. Oh, if this was the truth, the rich would have known of it first. Why are the poor going towards it? What kind of logic is that? Honestly, What kind of logic is that? Oh, yeah, I'm rich, hence I am wiser, more intelligent. No. Rich simply means rich. Doesn't have anything to do with you. It could be generational wealth, it could be land that you've taken over, or resources that just sprouted out in your garden. We tie wealth, financial wealth, to intellectual, spiritual wealth even today. That's why a lot of people end up listening to opinions on politics given by actors and singers. What do actors and singers know about politics? That's as much as saying that, oh, Obama likes this song, therefore this song is good. But knows nothing about music. Or if he does, that's his personal taste. His opinion is as important as mine when it comes to music. Same goes for a singer. But we say, oh, they're rich and they're wealthy and they're famous, so therefore they must be influential. No, no, it's problematic. And before this was the scripture of Moses as a guide and mercy, and this is a confirming book in the Arabic language to warn those who do wrong and as glad tidings to the muhsinun, the good doers. Verily, those who say our Lord is only God and thereafter stand firm and straight on the Islamic faith of monotheism, on them shall be no fear, nor shall they grieve. Such shall be the dwellers of paradise, abiding therein forever, a reward for what they used to do. And we have enjoined on man to be dutiful and kind to his parents. His mother bears him with hardship, and she brings him forth with hardship, and the bearing of him and the weaning of him is 30 months, till when he attains full strength and reaches 40 years, he says, my Lord, grant me the power and ability that I may be grateful for your favor which you have bestowed upon me and upon my parents, and that I may do righteous good deeds, such as please you, and make my offspring good. Truly I have turned to you in repentance, and truly I am one of the Muslims submitted to your will. This verse in this chapter, I know it doesn't explain it in the footnotes, but this verse, see, 30 months, sorry. It's 2.5 years. 30 months is 2.5 years, right? Yes, it's 2.5 years. It's a numerical value given, and if a numerical value is given in the Quran, we take it seriously. So that is what Saudi Arabia has done. This is the verse I was talking about. They are those from whom we shall accept the best of their deeds and overlook their evil deeds. They shall be among the dwellers of paradise, a promise of truth, which they have been promised, yes. But he who says to his parents, fay upon you both. Fay? What does that mean? What does that mean? I don't know what that word means. Do you hold out the promise to me that I shall be raised up again when generations before me have passed away without rising? Oh, I see. Okay. So you're questioning your parents. While they, the father and mother, invoke God for help and rebuke their son, woe to you, believe. Woe to you, believe. Verily the promise of God is true, but he says this is nothing but the tales of the ancient. So either it is magic, either it is fabricated, either it is wrong because the poor reached before the rich, or either it's a tale of the ancient. My point is, so what if it is a tale of the ancient? We say that even today. Oh, this is so outdated. This is so backward. Yeah, so what? So is a chair. So is walking. Should I stop walking because Homo sapiens 200,000 years ago were walking? Should I stop eating fruits because we've been doing so for 200 millennia? Doesn't make sense just to dismiss something because it is ancient. How modern are you? Human beings are behaving exactly like they did at the time of Caesar, at the time of Socrates, at the time of Moses, at the time of Noah. We're exactly the same. Nothing really has changed. We haven't grown wings and learned how to fly, and we haven't developed our conscience any further. We haven't grown a second brain or a third heart, or even a second heart. So what? I always criticize people's opinion. There are those against whom the word of torment is justified among the previous generations of jinn and mankind that have passed away. Verily, they are even the losers, ever the losers. And for all there will be degrees according to that which they did, that he may recompense them in full for their deeds, and they will not be wronged. So it's back to, you see how magnificent he is as a writer. Moses was mentioned briefly, and the mother weaning was mentioned, and look after your parents and be truthful and kind was mentioned, and then back to this will be done and that will be done. And then on the day when those who disbelieve in the oneness of God in Islam will be exposed to the fire, it will be said, you received your good things in the life of the world, and you took your pleasure therein. Now this day you shall be recompensed with a torment of humiliation, because you were arrogant in the land without a right, and because you used to rebel against God's command or disobey God. Yeah, this is nice. This verse is nice. It covers a lot. It covers a lot. The fire is mentioned, and then the life of this world is mentioned, and then the result of the life of this world is mentioned. But not just the life, your behavior towards this life. Whether you were serious about it, whether you were dismissive, that is mentioned. That's a good verse. And remember who the brother of Ad were when he warned his people in Al-Ahqaf, the curved sand hills in the southern part of Arabian Peninsula in Yemen, or the sand dunes, which is where the chapter gets its name. And surely there have passed away warners before him and after him, saying, worship none but God. Truly, I fear for you the torment of a mighty day, the day of resurrection. They said, have you come to turn us away from our aliha, our gods? Then bring us that with which you threaten us, if you are one of the truthful. Again, the same. A rational exploration would have been, well, why do you say that? Okay. Well, I'm curious. Why don't you lay out your argument rather than challenging? This is not a court. This is a scientific exploration, but they didn't do that. He said, the knowledge of the time of its coming is with God only, and I convey to you that wherewith I have been sent. But I see that you are a people given to ignorance. Then when they saw it as a dense cloud coming towards their valley, they said, this is a cloud bringing us rain. Nay, but it is that torment which you are asking to be hastened, and wind wherein is a painful torment. So, if anybody has seen any legal TV shows, like Suits or Boston Legal or Ally McBeal or whatever, or The Good Fight, or A Few Good Men, or The Judge, any legal TV show or movie, or even been to court, you know that calm, rational points of view devolve into antagonistic argumentation, the snap of a finger. It starts with, my rightful colleague is saying this, the prosecutor is saying this, the defense is saying this. Well, you were right and you were wrong, and what about this and what? Just like that. So it is very believable that Prophet Hud was saying to the people of Ad, look, a terrible torment is coming. You have to be careful. Look, believe it. And they said, fine, where is it? Oh, it's going to come very soon. No, bring it down. I want to see it. So you were asking to be hastened. That is a torment, a wind wherein is a painful torment. Destroying everything by the command of his Lord, so they became such that nothing could be seen except their dwellings. Thus do we recompense the people who are mujrimun, the polytheist disbelievers. And indeed we had firmly established them with that wherewith we have not established you. And by you, it means the people of Mecca, the people of Muhammad, peace be upon him, O Quraysh. And we had assigned them the faculties of hearing, seeing, and hearts, but their hearing, seeing, and their hearts availed them not, since they used to deny the verses of God, and they were completely encircled by that which they used to mock at. Yes. So they were given eyes, and ears, and a heart. I would say, well, the smell and the taste don't really help as much, or the touch. Eyes and ears and the heart, where you can perceive the message and accept it. But they were used to no avail because they denied the verses, and then they faced a painful torment. And indeed, we have destroyed towns and populations, round about you, and we have repeatedly shown them the verses in various ways that they might return to the truth and believe in the oneness of God in Islam. Then why did those whom they had taken for aliyah, gods, besides God, as a way of approach to God, not help them? See, now it ties verse 28 all the way to what was it, verse 6 or earlier verses, where they said, your idols will be on the ground and they'll be denying not on the ground, they'll be denying that you worship them, they'll be your enemies. Why didn't they do anything? Back to it. Why didn't they help you? When this torment comes, where are they? Nay, but they vanished completely from them when there came the torment, and that it was their lie and the inventions which they had been inventing before their destruction. And remember when we sent towards you, Muhammad, a group, 3 to 10 persons of the jinn, quietly listening to the Quran. When they stood in the presence thereof, they said, listen in silence. And when it was finished, they returned to their people as warners. Now, another critique I hear from people on the agnostic atheistic side of religion or belief is, what is a jinn? And I think I've discussed this in more detail, and I'll discuss it again. But even the jinn came to listen to the Quran and then take the message back to their fellow jinn. I won't say people. So, can I say people? I can't say people. Fellow jinn. They said, oh, our people, well, they said it. Verily, we have heard a book, this Quran sent down after Moses, confirming what came before it. It guides to the truth and to the straight path, which is Islam. O our people, respond with obedience to God's caller, God's messenger, Muhammad, and believe in him. Believe in him that he is the prophet. He, God, will forgive you of your sins and will save you from a painful torment, hellfire. I've said this before. I find it so interesting that man is created from earth or mud, and jinns are created from fire. But even the hellfire is a different type of fire from the jinn. I find that marvelous. I think that's remarkable because they're afraid of that hellfire. And whosoever does not respond to God's caller, he cannot escape on earth. And there will be no awliya, no lords, helpers, supporters for him besides God. Those are in manifest error. Do they not see that God, who created the heavens and the earth and was not wearied by their creation, is able to give life to the dead? Yes, he surely is able to do all things. Now, this verse ties to that earlier verse where the son or the child is disagreeing with his parents. The parents are saying this is the path of God, and the child is saying, no, how can we be brought back? If we would be brought back, why haven't other people been brought back? Remember that verse? It's being answered here. You see, it's so interesting how things are being tied together. And on the day when those who disbelieve will be exposed to the fire, it will be said to them, is this not the truth? They will say, yes, by our Lord. He will say, then taste the torment because you used to disbelieve. Sadly, we are responsible for our own actions. We can choose to believe or disbelieve. Therefore, be patient. O Muhammad, as in the messengers of strong will, and be in no haste about them, the disbelievers. On the day when they will see that torment with which they are promised or threatened, it will be as if they had not stayed more than an hour in a single day. O mankind, this Quran is sufficient as a clear message or proclamation to save yourselves from destruction. But shall any be destroyed except the people who are al-fasiqun, the rebellious against God's command, the disobedient to God? That's a question. It's rhetorical. It's rhetorical. We're not looking for an answer because that's where the chapter stops. Right? Yes, that's where the chapter stops. The footnote, there are many prophets, about 25 of them mentioned the Quran. Out of the 25, only 5 are of strong will. Okay, namely Muhammad, Noah, Abraham, Moses, and Jesus, son of Mary. Oh, interesting. Oh, that's interesting. Well, I didn't know that. Footnote 2. Strong will, it said. Okay, I can't find it right now, but anyway. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. We can stop here. I covered a lot, I know. I find that information about the child and viability to be quite interesting. I find the cyclical structure of the chapter to be very interesting, where things are being answered while they're mentioned before and then later they're answered. It's almost as if the chapter is answering itself. And I love the level of argumentation that Prophet Muhammad is now using, as opposed to just the kind hearted, gentle, great man that he is. He's now playing with them at their level. That's quite interesting. But I'm going to stop right here, and I shall see you next week. Have a